230.
4 years of illegal surveillance, taxpayer funded.
The president needs to see this. They weaponized everything.
Sir, they turned the Justice Department into a political weapon. Here's the proof. The American people deserve their money back.
For years, they hunted him like a dog. Russia hoax, Ukraine hoax, documents hoax, raid after raid, subpoena after subpoena, investigation after investigation. The Department of Justice under Joe Biden turned into the Department of Get Trump. Well, now the hunted has become the hunter, and President Trump just dropped a bombshell, a $250 million bill on the DOJ's desk. $230 million for what he calls unlawful political persecution. Here's the kicker, though. Legal experts say he might actually collect. Now, this is not a publicity stunt. Trump filed formal administrative claims documenting every abuse, every violation, every weaponized warrant. The man who survived the full force of the federal machine is about to make them pay, literally. Now, it's been all over the news. President Trump's renewed focus on American mining and critical minerals. And right now, District Copper Court is right in the middle of it, trading under the ticker CAXPF. They've just announced a major U.S. partnership with Reacher Gold LLC, unlocking access to proven gold and silver assets across Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. Now, these aren't just exploration projects. They are real infrastructure-ready properties with verified stockpiles and historical high-grade production. This partnership gives District Copper immediate U.S. production potential and a powerful position in the metals market. And with Washington investing billions to secure domestic copper and rare earth supplies, their cross-border strategy combining Canadian strength with new U.S. assets could not be better timed. So check out the link in the description to learn more. And a big thanks to District Copper Court for sponsoring today's video. Now, this is developing. Sources tell ABC News Trump is pushing for the DOJ to give him $230 million as compensation for past federal investigations he's faced. If the settlement goes through, the payout would come from the American taxpayer.
Sources tell ABC News that President Trump is now pushing the Justice Department to pay him $230 million in taxpayer money for past investigations involving Trump, including the Russia election interference investigation and the classified documents case involving what was found at Mar-a-Lago. The U.S. taxpayers would foot the bill here, and here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, sources tell ABC News President Trump is pushing for the government to give him $230 million, a wholly unprecedented personal payout from the American taxpayers as compensation for the federal investigations he's faced. The president says the Justice Department owes him.
I guess they probably owe me a lot of money for that. Probably, yeah, that's true. That's very interesting.
President Trump filed claims against the Justice Department in 2023 and again last year. One about the investigation into his campaign and Russian meddling in the 2016 election. The other concerning the FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago home, where agents removed boxes of classified documents Trump had taken from the White House and kept in a storage area, a ballroom, and even a bathroom. The president calling himself a victim of malicious prosecution, claiming his privacy rights were violated. If the settlement goes through, he would personally collect nearly $250 million from American taxpayers.
I like how they say American taxpayers. Well, yeah, that might be true. But that DOJ, the Biden DOJ, weaponized against Trump, and he deserves it. And the government should pay. We have this. Senators Lindsey Graham and Senator Roger Marshall react to the possibility of Trump reaching a settlement with the DOJ. This is Nicholas Balazay.
And the allegation. What do you think about the possibility of that settlement? Trump settling with DOJ?
I think he has a claim. I'll leave it up to him, but I think he was poorly treated. I think he's a citizen like anybody else.
Trump settling with DOJ?
I think he has a claim. I'll leave it up to him, but I think he was poorly treated. I think he's a citizen like anybody else. And if his rights have been violated, he can pursue legal remedies.
Also wanted to ask you about the possibility of President Trump receiving some sort of settlement for the cases that were lodged against him and the allegations that turned out not to actually yield to any charges. He wants some sort of settlement. The amount could be as high as $230 million. The amount hasn't been determined yet in terms of the request. So I was wondering what you thought about him possibly getting some sort of payment from DOJ.
Well, let's think about why he's wanting to be repaid for that. This was lawfare. What the Democrats did to him, Joe Biden did to him, was absolutely lawfare, that they used the Justice Department to go after him. The Attorney General from New York used the Justice Department to go after him as well. And I don't doubt that he did spend hundreds of millions of dollars defending himself. You know, that's one thing that's wrong with the judicial system. If you sue somebody else, and it's a frivolous lawsuit, but you win it, but you still spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to defend yourself. And I think we should consider that when you lose that type of a lawsuit, someone should be responsible. I'm glad to see President Trump say that if this does occur, that he'll give the money to charity. I think it's just one more example of what's wrong and how the Democrats use lawfare.
Democrat senators have already come out and congressmen right away saying it would be unethical to even take the money. Even if he was eligible to get this money, taking it would be unethical. What do you think about that?
Well, I think sometimes, President Trump is just making a statement here. I think what he's trying to really point out is just how bad the lawfare was and the tax on him.
What do you think about the possibility?
I hope he wins. President Trump seeking $230 million from the DOJ. And we have this New York Post correspondent points out that CNN and Donald Trump face more weaponization of the DOJ than any person in history.
More politicization.
Why that way, taxpayer dollars going toward this?
Well, for context, Donald Trump has faced more politicization and weaponization of the DOJ than any person in history. He's faced this for almost 10 years. The Mar-a-Lago raid, the Mueller report, and I think the average Trump voter looks at this. They feel that he was unfairly targeted for nearly a decade. There was a situation last year where if he hadn't been elected, it's very possible he could have ended up in jail. And so I think the average Trump voter looks at that and they remember back to the Obama era when the IRS was targeting the Tea Party, and they feel that this is sort of restitution. They don't think this is corruption.
It's restitution
they think
that
this
goes
is
directly
correction.
to Trump's pockets.
They think this is a correction for years and years of political targeting where he paid $107 million in legal fees from 2020 to 2024.
The
so we are talking about unprecedented,
a big chunk of those legal fees.
numbers. But I would also add, this is not the first time that the DOJ has in fact paid out money in settlements. They paid $2 million.
Sure, yeah, they paid out. They paid out one to a.
That way, not.
I think Trump should take him to the cleaners. What's interesting here is that Pam Bondi is the head of the DOJ. I mean, Trump's basically suing his own DOJ. But of course, this for the sins of what happened during the Biden administration.
But look, what they did.
The New York Times is reporting that your legal team is seeking $230 million from your own Justice Department now in response to the investigations into you. Is that something you want your legal team to do?
I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even talk to them about it. All I know is that they would owe me a lot of money, but I'm not looking for money. I'd give it to charity or something. I would give it to charity, any money. But look, what they did, they rigged the election. And as you know, we had, in one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot of money. And they already paid. They paid me a lot of money because what they did was wrong. And, when somebody does what's wrong. Now, with the country, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes a decision, right? And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where you have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages? But I was damaged very greatly, and any money that I would get, I would give to charity.
George Slobodanopoulos.
Give it to charity, any money. But look, what they did, they rigged the election. And as you know, we had, in one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot. They rigged the election. And as you know, we had, in one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos case, 60 minutes.
Oh, well, I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he wins and sets a precedent so that we can live in a country where persecution of, a president never happens again like this. If you got value from this report, subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, it's not really about money. It's about justice. For the first time in American history, a former president is holding the deep state accountable with their own legal system. $230 million for turning the DOJ into a political hit squad. Think about what they did. Fabricated FISA warrants, leaked classified information, raided his home like he was El Chapo. They spent tens of millions of taxpayer dollars trying to destroy one man because he threatened their power. Now he's flipping the script. If he wins, insiders say he will, it sets a precedent that bureaucrats can't weaponize federal agencies without consequences. The hunter becomes the hunted. So should Trump get every penny of that $230 million? Yes or no? Drop your verdict below. And remember, support real journalism at our merch shop. This is Gary Franchi saying the tables have officially turned.